Hi, good evening, welcome to this lovely Sunday evening in August. So, like a bloke, I'm sat here on a Sunday evening wondering what to have for dinner while the missus is at work. I thought, well, why not just eat scratchings? For those of you that don't know what a scratching is, it is pork rind, seasoned, baked or fried. If you've had belly pork, that sort of thing, yeah, you kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. Or you can have crackling, so you take the pork joint, you cut the fat off, salt it up, add some flavourings, bake it back in the oven. There's different methods. People say long and slow. Some people say whack it under the grill, get it done as quick as possible, get it really crispy and charred. That being said, I'm not a big crackling fan, but scratchings on the other hand, I've got a bit of a soft spot for. So, while thinking about eating scratchings for dinner, I thought, why not record myself eating scratchings for you lovely people, and also rate them, explain what I feel about each of them. Obviously, these are just my tastes. Everybody's tastes are going to differ. And the beautiful thing about scratchings is they pair lovely with a good beer. You see where I'm going with this. So, as I go through each pack of scratchings, this week we have 4 of them, I will be talking about the size of the scratching. You know, sometimes you get lots of little pieces in a bag. I like to have a good meaty crunchy piece, leading us nicely on. The crunch of the scratching. You know, has it got a proper teeth breaking crunch, or is it a little bit soggy? The fat crunchy bit. So this is a bit of a bone of contention with some people. Some people love the fatty bits. Some people just want it to be crunchy. When I first started eating scratchings years ago, I started out with what we call pork crunch, and we have a packet of those to eat today. And they primarily are just crunchy. They're crispy. They're very fluffy. They're very light. I'll show you some in a little while. And it took me a while to understand why people liked the fatty part, why it was needed. It makes up the mouthful now. Now that I've understood, now I do appreciate a good piece of fat, as long as the fat is cooked nicely and it melts in your mouth. Just a quick disclaimer here: these things are not healthy in the slightest. You know, they're fat. Essentially, you are just eating baked or fried fat. If you have heart problems or high cholesterol, do not eat these foods. I'm not a GP, I'm not a doctor, I don't have a PhD or a doctorate. Just don't eat them. Yeah, anyway. So scratchings come in all types, ranging from traditional, no frills, baked or fried goodness, and then some have flavours. We have one today that is an English mustard flavour. I'm very partial to mustard, so it will be nice to have some of that. So that is the next column we will be talking about. The saltiness factor of the scratching. Is it too salty to actually be able to taste the pork and the fat and any other flavourings they might have put? Obviously, scratchings are salty. That's the nature of the beast. They're cured, kind of, with a lot of salt to draw the moisture out to make them crispier. Basic cooking technique. And then finally, the last part that will be, oh no, I've got another one and I forgot to crop it. We have portion size. So how big is the bag? Is it other, you know, do you get to the end of the bag thinking I want more of those, or is there just enough in the portion size? I do, on the screen, I've cropped it a bit prematurely, but on my other screen I have another measure, should we call it, which is beer pairing. So scratchings are traditionally eaten in pubs, alongside your crisps and your peanuts and that sort of thing, but scratchings are a very black country snack, bar snack. So yes, pairing it with a good beer is always a good thing. I am an ale drinker through and through, so I do appreciate a good ale. But for this exercise, I have chosen to go with straightforward King Goblin. So it is a ruby beer, as it says on the side. So, which means it has a fair amount of colour to it. It actually is coming up a lot darker on the video than it really is, but it's fairly light in comparison to some of the obviously the deeper ales and porters and stouts and that sort of thing that you can also get. So anyway, without further ado, because I'm hungry, just talking, my mouth is salivating at the thought of this. So we're going to start off with Midland Snacks traditional pork scratchings. So Midland Snacks have been producing pork scratchings for over 30 years to an authentic black country recipe using only the finest ingredients. They are made in Wolverhampton, so right on the doorstep of where I am. So first of all, they smell as good as any pork scratching that you would find in a pub. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to show inside the bag. So there is, you know, they look fairly good. Probably some people right now, if you're not accustomed to eating scratching, are going, that's disgusting. Obviously these aren't vegan. I don't, please, if you're vegan, don't take offence to this. This is just a little bit of fun. You know, thank you. So there are some that are, you know, a fair size, thumb sort of size. But in this bag, there are some smaller ones as well. There's some little pieces. And I know they're going to get damaged in transit and that kind of thing. But I do like a good size one. So that one there looks like it's got a lot of fat to crunch ratio. I can't get it in focus. But anyway. It's a pretty standard scratching. It's, you know, it's what you expect out of a scratching. The fat was quite heavy in that one, but it completely melted in your mouth. The crunch was pretty good. I've had harder crunches, and I do appreciate a good crunch on a piece of crackling or scratching. I do like to have to bite down and worry if my teeth are going to break. Okay, so let's start going through this. So size of scratching, they're fair. I do have a baseline of how big scratchings can and should be in comparison, and they're not bad. I'd say a 6. The crunch, they had a fair amount of crunch, but they could have been crunchier. So again, I think a 6. Fat to crunchy bit. So there was, looking through this bag and the 3 that I tried, there's quite a lot of fat. Not unpleasant fat, you know, the actual soft, melt in your mouth, buttery fat is quite prominent in these. So fat to crunchy bit, I'd say it's probably an 8. There's quite a lot of fat on them in the ratio. Flavour, it's a pretty good scratching flavour. You know what you're getting. It's deep fried pork or baked pork. These I presume are probably deep fried. Yeah, they're fine. I'd probably give them a 7. They're a pretty good palatable scratching. Saltiness, there's elements of salt, but they're not over the top salty. So I'd probably go for a 4 on that. Portion size, I'm not sure how much I paid for these. I ended up buying all 4 together and I didn't get a receipt, so I can't be sure. But I think with this bag, if I was eating them in a pub, I'd probably want more than 1 pack, more than likely. So I think portion size is a little bit, they're a bit moreish, a little bit. You know, that's scratches in general, not necessarily this packet. But I think they're about 5. They're a standard size. You know, there's nothing major about them. They're not blowing me away. So the final test is the beer pairing. So let's just, for time's sake, let's get a smaller one. So this one here has got a lot more crunch to it by the looks of it. And that's the thing with scratchings, you always get like a powdery residue on your fingers, and that is sometimes the best bit. So while I've still got that flavour in my mouth, the beer completely got rid of it. So the beer pairing, it didn't detract from the beer, it didn't add to the beer flavour. Yeah, I think, you know, the beer pairing, it's fine. It's a 5 across the way. Sometimes you get a nice scratching that lingers after, and you take a swig of your beer and you still taste that scratching, and that is something special at that point. So next up we have Black Country Snacks. We're just going to whiffle through this because we're 11 minutes in already and just about to start the second packet. So Black Country Snacks, proper Black Country double cooked pork crackling. So scratching, crackling, kind of interchangeable, arguably. They come from Bloxwich, which is just outside of Wolverhampton, sort of between Wolverhampton and Birmingham. Again, I'm not going to get into semantics, but yeah, that's probably my easiest explanation of where it is. So again, I'll open the packet. So these ones automatically, they taste, they smell more like rustic. They've got more like that porky, salty, like umami-ness about them. Whereas these just tasted like regular pork scratches. These taste like something else a little bit. So whereas this pack was in a clear packet, these are in a foil lined packet. So hopefully the freshness will keep it a little bit better. Obviously a slightly more premium packet. Size of the scratching, you know, I'm rummaging around in here and they're all pretty uniform, they're all pretty standard size. They all look pretty good. I mean, that one on the top there it's okay, it's fine. So I'm going to find I'm going to find a fatty one first. So this one here, as you can see, it's got the cap of the crispy bit, and then this all here is the fat. Okay. So right off the bat, far crunchier. They're a bit gritty. Well, is the only way I can describe it. When they break up, when you bite them and they break up, there's more of a texture to them. Whereas those ones, kind of the Midland Snacks ones, they just kind of everything melted together, and it was pleasant. But whereas these ones, there's a lot more bite and a lot more. You have to work with them a little bit more, which is quite nice. Okay. So the size of scratching, it's about the same sort of size. So I'm going to go with a 7 because they're a little bit more uniform. There's less little bits in there. And again, I'll probably return back to some of these packets again in the future. Get another packet of them and see how they compare. Refer back to this video as well. The crunch, much better. A lot more texture through the scratching. So it's not, again, not rock solid, not the hardest scratching I've ever had. But yeah, the crunch was very good. So 7 on them. Fat to crunchy bit. So this is an interesting one on this scratching. Whereas the fat on the Midland Snacks one's just melted away. This fat here, it has texture to it. It still melts, it still goes away, but there is that grain, that grit that I was talking about just now. It stays with you. It doesn't just disappear straight away, which is quite nice. I guess the easiest thing to explain it is when you have a biscuit, a British biscuit, not I can't speak about American biscuits, but a British biscuit, a cookie. Sometimes when they get soggy, they stick around your teeth. The Midland Snacks scratching did that. The Black Country Snacks hasn't done that half as much. It's kind of just broke down and gone, which is quite nice. So fat to crunchy bit, I'd say it's probably a 6. It's hard to tell where the fat ends and the crunchy bit begins. Visually you can sort of tell, but yeah, I'm just gonna leave it as a 6. Flavour, they're very nice. You know, they're pretty good. They have something a little bit different about them. Like I said before, a little bit more richness, a little bit more umami, a little bit more savouriness. Very, very palatable, very nice. So I'm going to go a 7. Saltiness, again, not a whole lot of salt. Probably even less, I'd say, than the other Midland Snacks ones, actually, to be completely honest with you. So I'm going to go with a 3. And again, some people like them salty. The age-old fast food trick is add more salt to your food to make the person drink more. You know, McDonald's do it, KFC, Burger King, that sort of thing. So salt and beer, lovely. Salt and fluids go lovely. So, you know, a salty pork scratching, put that behind your bar, you're going to sell more beer. I'd imagine. Portion size. So the bag is. So this is a 50-gram bag. The Midland Snacks is. It doesn't actually say. Best before weight. It doesn't actually say. Which is very helpful. But they're roughly about the same sort of size, these packets. Roughly. I'd say this one's slightly bigger and actually slightly more full. So I've had 3 out of each. And, excuse me, I'm not very good with this camera. So you can see my fingers are at the top of the packets. So actually, I think these were probably more premium. You know, from the packaging, from the style. But the filling of the packet is much nicer. I can probably get away with just one of them, whereas I possibly would have needed 2 Midland Snacks. So yeah, portion size, quite nice, quite nice. I'd say they're quite generous, so I think a 6 on them. Finally, it's probably my favourite bit of the whole thing, the pear tasting. So let's grab a nice one. So we're getting the crunch, still there. It's consistent throughout, hasn't gone anywhere. So with this one, I can still taste it along the side of my tongue. I'm no expert, but I'm guessing that's where the umami and the salt receptors of your tongue are. But it's very, very prominent. It's still there. So yeah, that's a really good beer pairing. Very impressed with them. So I'm going to go with an 8 on them. You can't see it on this screen, but beer pairing will be an 8. They're very, very good. So next we have Mr. Trotters English Mustard Triple Cooked Pork Crackling. Made in Great Britain. Quite a nice little pack. A bit like Brannigan's, if you have those crisps, they're quite good. These are made in Riverside, and I'm not sure where that is. I will have to have a look. And it says using pork from various countries. Mr. Trotters Triple Cooked Pork Crackling is a revolutionary new snack. Unlike other pork scratches, Mr. Trotters is triple cooked by hand in small batches using a totally new process to deliver a crisper texture and maximum crunch. Let's put them to the test in a minute then. With natural yeast and sea salt added for good measure. That sounds good to me. I am a fan of Marmite, so yeasty anything, and beer, you know, yeast, bread yeast, all of that is good to me. Not good for my waistline, but it's good for me. We've had a thing about mustard for quite a long time. British chefs were using mustard to pep up their dishes long ago as 1390. So it seems natural to team this most British of condiments with the finest of British snacks. The result, a perfect porky pairing with a punch to tingle your taste buds. Try saying that when you're drunk. Mr. Trotter trusts you'll be as keen as mustard on the result. So, I'm excited for these, to be honest with you. Okay. There's a subtle hint of mustard. You know that ham and mustard sandwich you make, and you got the English mustard, and you get that pungent smell comes off. there's a hint of that. It's not overpowering, which we'll see if that's a blessing or a curse. You know, they got to put their money where their mouth is. In terms of size of scratching, I mean, we've got some pretty sizable scratchings. Like that one there, that's a pretty big monster. And I'm going to eat that one first. So you'll forgive me on that one. But then we do have some that are like that. And obviously, scratchings aren't meant to be uniform, but it's nice when you've got a pack where you haven't got little dusty bits at the bottom. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's fun. Right at the end, when you're finished, lick your finger, run it around the packet. It's like an added bonus. But I'm going for this one. So, wish me luck on this. This is a beast. Okay, I'm going. That was obscene. I apologise that you just had to sit through, what, that 20 seconds of me crunching on that. So everything I've said before about crunch, about the size and everything, it comes into play right here. Right here in this one. So, straight away, you get a hit of mustard. And you think it's going to be that kind of, oh my word, I've put too much mustard on this product. And it hits you, and then it goes away. But you've still got it there. It doesn't burn. You don't get that burn at the back of the nose that you sometimes get with mustard products. Very, very pleasant. The crunch, you could tell by how long it took me to eat that. There's a proper crunch going on there. There was a part about 2/3 of the way through eating where I bit down this one piece and it just didn't go at all. So I bit again and it went. But that is what you want from a good scratching, good piece of crackling. You want to have to fight it. You don't want it to just give up and roll over and go away. You want to enjoy it. You want to wrestle with it. You want to get that, you want to gross out time. You want to get that saliva going and break down those enzymes, use the enzymes to break down that food and get that flavour everywhere. And that's exactly what that scratching does. It hit straight off. Boom. So, size of scratching, they're very generous on the size in this packet. Again, I will buy another packet of all of these next time I pass the shop where I've got these from. They're pretty generous. There's some large ones in here. There's some that are smaller than the Black Country Snacks, no nonsense. But overall, I'm impressed with the size of the scratches. So I'm going to go with an 8 on that one. The crunch, it's up there. It's up there with any scratching that I've ever had before. It's definitely a 9. I don't want to go 10 because there are harder scratchings. But also, there's a point, I think, as well, on this scale. I probably should have thought about this a little bit more. There's a point when a scratching becomes like a brick and you can't eat it and it's not pleasant and you throw it away. That, to me, is a detrimental score at that point. That's a 1, that's a 2. They've gone too far with that scratching. And I know it's food, everything turns out slightly different. These should be masters of their craft. So anyway, crunch, 9. Fat to crunchy bit. On that one I had there, I didn't even notice if there was any fat. It was that texture and that crunchy. If there was fat, I didn't get it. But that being said, when I picked it up and looked at it, it looked like there was fat. There was like an outside, and then there was a chunk in the middle that I knew was going to be hard, and it looked like it was a piece of fat inside, a soft fat. So that, to me, the fact that I didn't have to chew away at that or it just disappeared, that to me is a very good thing as well. That to me is an 8. I think, again, looking at the packet here, so that one there, it's got 50-50 fat ratio, and again, there's a big brother of that one, pretty much the same kind of shape, just bigger, and there's quite a good fat ratio on that one. That mustard, it's still there, But when you think that heat's going to build up and up and up, it doesn't. It goes away. Fat to crunch bit, I'd say it's a 6. 6.5. The flavour. Okay, this is the interesting part. The crunch, fantastic. The size of the scratching, very good. The mustard flavour is very good. The actual flavour of the scratching, the pork, the ingredient that it's made of, it's a little bit lacking. And it's going to be interesting with the beer pairing to see how this plays out. I can still taste it, but it's just, yeah, it's been there. It's great. You can actually taste the yeast. Saying that, that's the kind of flavour that's left around my mouth. So I think flavour-wise, if it wasn't for the mustard, you'd probably be lacking that porkiness that you do want from a good scratching. Saltiness, I'm not picking up a lot of salt at all, so it's there, but it's not overpowering. So a 3. Portion size, again, it's quite a big bag, and I've had 2 out of this bag, and it's gone pretty much. So this is a 60-gram bag actually. So the size of the bags, again, I will get used to this at some point. So these 2 bags, if I hold them like that, you might be able to see. So actually it's a much bigger bag for only 10 grams of pork product more. It's an interesting one. I might weigh out some individual scratchings at some point just so we'll get an idea of what I'm talking about here. Portion size, I think they could be a bit more generous, so I'm going to go with a 5 on that one. The most important part. It's a hard job sometimes. You get an okay one. That mustard, that good crunch. Mustard's still there. Okay, so I've still got a bit of crackling in my mouth, scratching in my mouth. I didn't even have to swirl that beer around my mouth. And the only flavour that is still there is a little bit of mustard. That's it. It's completely gone. You could have had a ham and mustard sandwich and you'd have the same flavour in your mouth. I'm not getting any of that porkiness that's left behind, usually from other scratchings. So, unfortunately, Mr. Trotters, your beer pairing, not so good. It's run of the mill. It's going to be a 5. So this is where the curveball of the episode comes in. So these have been scratchings or crackling. For the gateway, entry level, into this realm, and this is where I began as well, I didn't like the idea of pork fat at all. So I, naively, and I know they're the same product, they're just cooked very slightly different, went with what I know as pork crunch. So as you can see, this bag is monstrous. It's as big as my head. And I've bought these multiple times before. These are my kind of go-to scratching porky product. I've had them time and time again, but they're a different beast altogether. So it's going to the scale that I'm using here, the size of the scratching crunch, blah, 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 isn't really going to apply to this. So I probably won't review it in that way. So as you can see, like, these are monstrous. There's my thumb for comparison, and but they're not the same. These are small and or compact and hard, whereas this, I never get tired of that smell. So, but these are aerated. They're puffed up. I need to understand how they make, what the difference is in how they cook these. But these are puffed up. There is no fattiness to them. They are like little wafery, porky goodness. They're crispy, they're crunchy, but because of the nature of what they are, as soon as you apply any saliva to them, they break down. They turn into a paste in your mouth, a porky paste, a delicious, salty, porky paste. If there's one phrase you take away from this episode, it's that: delicious, salty, porky paste. Tell your family. So these are made by Mike Evans. You can get these in a jalapeno flavour. There's multiple different flavours. Mike Evans also does scratchings as well. I just couldn't get any of their branded ones. The packaging is no frills. It's straight to the point. What you see is what you get. Obviously, you have the nutrition and all that sort of thing. They are made in Penn, which is Wolverhampton. They are a good go-to. They are very salty in comparison to the other three that I've looked at today. And I know this very well. But you put one of these on your tongue, and it already starts melting. Very porky, lots of flavour, like ridiculous amounts of flavour. A natural pork flavour, and that's why they're my go-to. If you want something that's meaty and moreish, they're your beast. And I know the purists, the aficionados of scratchings and crackling will go against crunch. You know, it's horses for courses. It's what you feel like at the time. It's what you want out of your scratching or your crackling or your crunch at that point in time. Sometimes I don't want hard scratching. Sometimes I do just want a big bag of these and then to feel fat afterwards. So anyway, it's been a while since I've eaten that, 20 seconds or so. So I've swelled my mouth out with the beer, which is quite strong. It's a 6.6% ruby beer, and I can still taste the crunch. It's still there. My taste buds have completely picked it up and are running with it. So, and I think, if memory serves, these are only about £1 a bag. I mean, this little lot came to £4 something for these 4 bags. So they're pretty affordable as far as a little snack goes. Again, don't eat. I'm not going to sit here and eat all of these tonight. These are going to be put into a container and eaten over the next week. If I ate all of these now, which I could do quite easily, I would not feel good tomorrow at all. So there we are. That is my first set of reviews on pork scratching and crunch that I am affectionately titling Scratching Around for Pork. Take that as you will. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's been quite a long video, 30 odd minutes, but if there's any scratchings that you can recommend me out there that are your go-tos, you see them, you have to buy them, and that's it. Let me know, please tell me. I mean, I went to Wales a couple of weeks back, and the scratchings that I picked up in Abersock in Wales were from Wolverhampton. They weren't any of these 4 brands either. So there's multiple companies out there making scratchings in their own way, their own style, with their own flavourings. It's a bit like a KFC recipe. It's their own blend of spices and herbs. Hit me up. Send me a packet. Come on, share the love. Hopefully, I'll see you again soon. If I haven't had a heart attack in the meantime for me and all of this lot. Take care of yourselves. See you later. Bye.